Move over, Seth Rollins. We have a new heist of the century. Naomi has officially cashed in her money in the bank, and she warned everybody to proceed with caution. Nobody decided to listen to her for some reason, and here we are. We got a new world champ. But there is so much to get into when it comes to Evolution. First and foremost, this was perfect. I loved this PLE. I don't think anything could have made this show better. And I know people are going to go out there and they're going to say, where was the returns? Where was the surprise? But I'll tell you what, this was all about the future of WWE, showcasing the talent that is there today and highlighting what is to come. This was truly the evolution of WWE right in front of our very eyes, at least for the women's division. Now, it's difficult trying to decide where to begin. I could go through every single match individually, starting off with the women's triple threat for the IC title, but I think I have to talk about what might be one of my favorite women's matches I have ever seen. We're talking about Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky, one-on-one. And going into this match, yeah, the build wasn't necessarily there to hype everybody up for this match, but we all knew from the previous matches we have seen from Io and Rhea just how good they are in the ring and how much chemistry they actually have together. The triple threat match back at WrestleMania was just a teaser of what was to come with this thing, because I truly think that this thing cleared the WrestleMania triple threat, and that to me was one of my favorite matches of the year this year. It was one of the greatest matches that has been put on by any promotion this year. It was fantastic back at Mania, and now we just topped it. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky took it one step further. They brought it to the next level. And like, this is a match we'll remember for years to come. Like, legitimately, when was the last time we actually saw a ref bump in a women's match? I didn't notice it up until that point, because it's not very often we get that quote-unquote main event style for the women's matches, right? A Roman Reigns type of match where there's a ref bump, there's outside interference, there's run-ins, there's distractions, there's all this type of crap going on, right? We don't usually get that in the women's division, or if we do, it's like Dominic Mysterio getting involved in a match or something. But this time around, it was truly a main event feel. There was a gigantic ref bump after Io Sky hit a missile drop kick on poor Jess the ref right there, and she was gone. She was laid out for a solid 20 minutes, it felt like. But this is where Io Sky and Rhea Ripley got to go outside of the ring and start exploring the entire arena. And at one point, Io Sky literally jumped off like the boxes that they have there. It must have been like 15 feet in the air. One of the coolest crossbodies I've ever seen. Her just jumping down onto Rhea, taking her out in one go. Beautiful. Like, I was picking up those mad vibes as soon as Rhea Ripley and Io were walking over by like the handrails and everything. I thought for sure they were going to replicate the Sasha moment where Charlotte is literally just being wrenched over the handrail and Sasha makes her tap out for the women's championship run. I wasn't saying that it was going to go that way, but you get what I'm getting at. I thought we might see a callback to that. But regardless, what we got instead, the giant crossbody, I will take every single day. But then we finally make our way back into the ring, and there's just a trading back and forth of finishers. Rhea Ripley kicked out of the over the moonsault, which was just insane to actually see. And after these two ladies were completely gassed, they threw everything that they possibly could at each other. Down comes Naomi, Miss Money in the Bank. She actually cashes in. The bell rings not once, but twice, believe it or not. And Naomi officially becomes the women's world champion. I'm so thrilled. I want to talk more about Naomi in a little bit, right towards the end of this, and the press conference and everything that she had after the show. But just in the ring, Naomi, I think, deserves this. She has been there for such a long time. It's her time. Let's let her run with it for a while. Let's do a triple threat match between Jade Cargill, Bianca Belair, and Naomi at SummerSlam, and have Naomi still walk out as champion. It's time for Naomi to get a true run as champ, and I'm so excited for her. Everybody needs to proceed with caution. Now, while that match was incredible, it wasn't the only thing that happened on the show, and not by a long shot. We had an amazing triple threat IC championship match to open up the show. Bayley, Lyra, and Becky Lynch all went out there and just tore the house down. On any other night, this might have been the biggest talking point coming out of the show, with just how good the wrestling was. The back and forth, the usage of the finishers, breaking up at the last moment, and the touch of detail to the story where Lyra Valkyria is just completely disappointed in these two who she previously looked up to, right? I wanted to call them mentors, but they really didn't do much of mentoring her, right? She looked up to them, and almost proved that you should never meet your heroes, right? Lyra Valkyria was the underdog in this matchup, but I think she came out looking the best out of everybody. Yeah, Becky Lynch walks out with the championship. Yeah, Bayley looked great in the ring, but I truly think this was the evolution of Lyra Valkyria right in front of our very eyes. It won't be long before we see Lyra fighting around that world championship or that women's championship on SmackDown. She is there. She's ready. She is that damn good, and the crowd is behind her. Like, you hear the woos during her entrance, right? That is the fans telling everybody in WWE, we want more Lyra. What a match. Becky Lynch does walk out as champion, and I think it's the right call long term. Becky can continue to build this division and continue to bring along some younger talent and get some great matches out of them. Because let's face it, as much as everybody wants to call her Becky Hogan, and she's not Becky Hogan, it's a terrible last nickname, but go ahead, keep doing it if you really want to. You guys are just kind of lame if you do. But everybody who be yelling Becky Hogan don't realize how good we have it with her, why she is in the position that she is. It doesn't matter who she's in the ring with, she gets a great match out of everybody. There are very few bad matches from Becky Lynch, and this was certainly an amazing one. Well done, everybody in that ring. Great triple threat. But now let's get into the Fatal 4-Way Women's Tag Team title match, which was just bonkers good. We had Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez defending their tag team titles against the Kabuki Warriors, Sol Ruka, and Zarya. And the last tag team I'm looking over here. Oh yeah, that's right. The two people that are friends, or they're not friends. They're partners out of convenience. It's Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. What a match. Look, there's really not much that I can say about this other than fantastic. My second favorite match on the night. I think everybody went out there and just tore it down, man. Like, I'm going to say that about every single match. I truly think that, because what can you say about an incredible Fatal 4-Way tag team match that everybody gets highlighted? Nobody feels like they're left out. You get great moments from up-and-coming stars like Sol Ruka hitting a beautiful soul snatcher on Charlotte Flair. You have the great partnership of Raquel and Roxanne starting to blossom in front of our very eyes. Seeing Raquel no longer as like the secondary act in this Liv Morgan story. She is now starting to shine through on her own. And Roxanne Perez also now starting to be elevated because of this partnership and dynamic with Raquel. I love how they look in the ring as a tag team, and they are 1000% the right call to walk out as the women's tag team champions. I know a lot of people wanted to see the Kabuki Warriors potentially walk out, or maybe Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. And well, I think people are right to think that Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss could have benefited from holding on to the tag titles. They didn't need to hold on to them right now. And with everything going on with the Judgment Day, where they now have the men's tag team titles, they have the women's tag team titles, and they have the IC championship, it's a better story, in my opinion, to keep those titles there than to just put them on a group of two that don't really get along, right? Like, if you put this on Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair right now, are we supposed to care about their dynamic? Or does it just kind of feel forced and shoved down our throats, right? I think it's the latter, not the former. And so this is the right call, in my opinion. You got Judgment Day. You can build them up as the tag team champs for a little bit longer. And maybe down the line, there's a big one-on-one match between Charlotte, or I guess 2-on-2, Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss versus the Judgment Day. It might even go down at SummerSlam. Also, I should really add this in. Sol Ruka is ready for the main roster. There's just something about Sol Ruka. When you see her, you just see, yep, money. You're going to make WWE a lot of money, and it's only a matter of time till you're on that main roster. I know she's the speed champ. I know that she's the North American champion, but like, man, Sol Ruka is going to be on that main roster, I think, within the next 6 months. It's only a matter of time. Now, I say that as well, and as I'm saying that, I'm like, well, maybe she does win the NXT Women's Championship, and so she stays down in NXT for a little longer, which I'd be okay with if that was the case. But there's something there, man. Even Zarya, the tag team of Zarya and Sol Ruka, seemed like they were ready for the main roster. You could literally plug that act from NXT right into Raw or SmackDown, and I think it would fit seamlessly. Almost like Axiom and Nathan Frazier, right? Fraxium, you just took them from NXT and put them on the main roster. You could literally do that for Sol Ruka and Zarya. You could go after the tag titles, and people would love it. But regardless, Sol Ruka, An amazing talent. Next up is Tiffany Stratton versus Trish Stratus. And I don't know about you, but going into this matchup, I didn't have a lot of high hopes for it. I thought it would be a good showcase for Tiffany. Get in, get your moments, and get out, right? But I was pleasantly surprised. Trish Stratus, yeah, you still got it. There is no question about it. Trish and Tiffy went out there and put on a clinic. It started off just a little rough, but as it went on, man, it got smoother and smoother. And I love the story direction of just like Tiffany almost embracing this like not heel side of her, but just a little bit of a ruder side. You know, there's some more attitude right now with Tiffany Stratton, and it was showcased highly in this matchup as Trish Stratus just tried to get going in the matchup, and every time that she seemed to get some offense, Tiffany Stratton would hit her with something big. Now, eventually Trish Stratus did break through, and she did hit the Stratus faction. I thought it was all over at that moment, and we were actually getting a new women's champion, but Tiffany Stratton was able to kick out at 2 and continue on with the match. And then also at some point, she hit an insane swanton bomb. I kid you not. She came down. I'm going to use my comb right here. The angle of attack. This is her head. She came down, and this is the body, okay? Great visuals right here, con man. But she came down like this. I don't know how she was able to rotate at the last minute and hit a picture perfect clean swanton bomb. However she did that, round of applause, Tiffy. That was impressive. Now, when this was all going down, I was wondering, maybe do we get the cash in from Naomi on this match? Like, do they maybe have Trish Stratus win the title only for Naomi to cash in on her? And it was like, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? But I thought maybe, you know, because Jade Cargill's on SmackDown. She won the Queen of the Ring. Jade Cargill versus Naomi for the women's title at SummerSlam kind of writes itself. But then what happens to Tiffy? What happens to Trish, right? There's a lot of questions around it. And so it didn't make a lot of sense for her to cash in the Money in the Bank contract during this match. But I was convinced it was going to happen. There was literally nothing pointing in the direction of her cashing in during this match. So, hey, Conman's brain got going on that one. But in the end, it was Tiffany Stratton who did retain her title over Trish Stratus, hit the prettiest moonsault ever, and that was all she wrote. Tiffy Stratton is still your women's champion. There's a lot of questions, though, around what could be next for Tiffany, right? Like, now that we know probably at least Jade Cargill is going to go after Naomi, who won the world championship, there's a lot of open doors now for Tiffany Stratton. So who do you think Tiffany Stratton might be facing at SummerSlam? There's a lot of opportunities for people now to step up. So let me know. So we've talked about Naomi a lot, but we haven't actually talked about the match she had at Evolution. It was a one-on-one match between her and Jade Cargill in a no-holds-barred matchup. Just two ladies that cannot stand each other, were willing to rip each other to shreds, but it was hard hitting to watch. There's no question about it. They snapped into a Slim Jim table. They were using kendo sticks. They were doing everything that they possibly could. There was a chain involved. Like, Jade Cargill literally punched Naomi in the face with a big old chain wrapped around her hand. It was brutal. There's no question about it. I liked the match. I'm not going to say I didn't like the match, okay? I don't have anything to complain about this, but like, my thought process was probably along the same as yours. This wasn't it for Naomi tonight, right? Like, when we saw her lose to Jade Cargill, did everybody else's light bulbs just go off and say, she's cashing in soon, isn't she? How are you going to have her lose to Jade Cargill again? She's cashing in. Also, at some point during the match, Naomi broke her nose or something happened to it because she was just gushing out blood. And it also looked brutal in the post show where she was conducting the interviews and just having a tissue over her nose all the time. Like, just that thing was leaking, man. So kudos to Naomi for finding a way to get through that match. That can't be easy, trying to breathe with a broken freaking nose like that. But also, we got to talk about the finish because Naomi literally got lifted up for a Jaded and was slammed through a table, face bump with a broken freaking nose. Yeah, Naomi, that had to hurt. There is no way that tickled, and I bet you're feeling it right now. Like she said, her shoulder was jacked up, her nose is obviously messed up. Like, man, Naomi, that was a war. But in the end, it's probably the right call. Jade Cargill does need more solo wins. They're building her up as like this gigantic force in the women's division, and having Naomi beat her right there might not have done anything positive for Jade Cargill. It would have done a lot for Naomi, don't get me wrong, but she was Miss Money in the Bank, you know, and it proved it here tonight. She could literally just go and cash in that contract and everything would be fine, right? So now Jade Cargill has a win at Evolution. Naomi walks out as the champion. It writes itself for SummerSlam. Bianca Belair had a weird moment where it's like she was not looking at Jade Cargill. So whatever story they got going on there, whatever thing is hiding in Bianca Belair's closet, if you will, it's going to be revealed soon. And I think we get a triple threat match for that women's world title at SummerSlam. And so then that brings us here to our final match to talk about, considering we've already talked about the main event at length. This is the Women's Battle Royal with an opportunity for a title match at Clash in Paris. And I gotta say this right out of the gate, this Battle Royal is one of my favorite Battle Royals I have ever, and I mean ever, watched. Now granted, not a lot of Battle Royals are coming to my mind immediately when I'm like, which Battle Royal is my favorite? But this thing had it all. It felt like a Royal Rumble, just with everybody who was in the Royal Rumble in the ring. There was so much talent from NXT that was in there. There was a lot of great talent from the main roster. We didn't have any surprises, like there was no AJ Lee, there was no Paige. Okay, I understand people really wanted a surprise here, but this again was all about highlighting this current women's division, the women's division on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT. And like, literally the Battle Royal started off with us having people separated from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, and Nikki Bella was in there. I'm not sure which team she was on for the moment, but that was so cool getting the moment with all the stars of tomorrow in one corner and all the stars of today in the other two corners. It was a really, really cool visual to start things off. It kicked it off in the right way. Although poor Tatum Paxley and poor Izzy Dame, they showed up for about 5 seconds before getting eliminated. They got to be in contention for one of the shortest amount of times in Battle Royal history. That was tough. What I think the best part about this whole Battle Royal was, though, was just the stories being told throughout the match. We had Zelina Vega and Julia having their little war. We had Lash Legend and Nia Jax getting face-to-face with each other. You had Kalani Jordan just pulling off her inner Kofi Kingston, somehow doing a hand walk right back to the ring, which was just nuts to see. You had tag teams working together like Nia Jax, Candice LeRae, Natalia, Maxine Dupree, a bunch of others as well that were affiliated with each other. And it was just a great addition, B-Fab and Michin, right? It was a great addition to the match because you had the dynamic of people looking out for each other's back, right? Somebody would go and try to eliminate them and they'd make the save. It's little touches of detail like that that make the Battle Royals memorable. But what I think was the most memorable thing about this all was that the final two featured a new superstar on the main roster and potentially another new superstar on the main roster. Like Lash Legend looks like she's ready, but the final two was Stephanie Vaquer and Lash Legend. That's evolution, man. That's the future. But the future is now after Stephanie Vaquer hit the devil's kiss on Lash Legend on the outside of the ring, on the hardest part of the ring, eliminated her, and now Stephanie Vaquer gets a title match at Clash in Paris. This has got to be one of the fastest rising stars in the world right now. She has been the talk of WWE for the better part of a year, and now that she's up on the main roster getting a title match, I actually wonder, do they pull the trigger? And if so, who is she going to be fighting for that championship? Because there's a lot of people out there who could be champion after SummerSlam. It could easily be a Bianca Belair. It could easily be a Naomi or a Jade Cargill. Maybe Tiffany Stratton is still champion. Maybe there's somebody else for her to go up against, and maybe they walk out as champion at SummerSlam. I don't know. I can't truly picture where they're going with this and who Stephanie Vaquer might be facing in Clash in Paris. So let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on who she will be facing for that championship. But man, what a night. Seriously, just an incredible evening. I don't generally give perfect scores to WWE or pro wrestling shows for that matter, because you can always do better, right? Like I think here tonight, if there was an AJ Lee return, if there was a Paige return, I think that excitement even is higher than it is tonight. But for the show that we actually got, from start to finish, the wrestling itself, the storylines that were being told, and the overall feeling from tonight, this is a perfect 10 out of 10 show from WWE. You literally cannot ask for anything more. There was not a single bad match on the card. Everybody was highlighted. There was feel-good moments. There was a surprise Money in the Bank cash-in. Literally, the only thing missing was a return from somebody from yesteryear, and I'm not sure that a pay-per-view or a PLE called Evolution needs a giant return from somebody from the previous decade. I just really don't think it was needed. Save that for SummerSlam. Save that for a Monday Night Raw or something like that. Tonight, Evolution delivered in every way possible. I'm so proud of everybody that went out there, all the ladies, the fans who showed up and were loud throughout the night on a Sunday night after 3 wrestling shows on a Saturday. You guys were also the MVPs of the night, the live crowd there. Just an incredible show. So thank you so much for watching. I look forward to reading your comments down below. If you would like to submit any hot takes, be sure to get them in. They are up on my Twitter right now. Hot takes will be uploaded tomorrow morning. I'm recording it tomorrow morning, so you have a little bit of time to submit any thoughts, opinions, concerns, whatever else you may have on the show. Just go to my Twitter, twitter.com/conman167, and you'll find it over there. Well, that's it for me. Thank you so much. Make sure you leave a like on this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, turn on those notifications, and keep coming back right here for lots of pro wrestling content. Take care, and what a night Evolution was. Woo!